The likelihood of a second Brexit referendum is now at a startling 10%, as bookmaker William Hill has slashed the odds to 9-1. This shift in betting odds is no mere coincidence. It reflects the growing unease and dissatisfaction with the current state of affairs in the UK, especially as political leaders grapple with the fallout from the first referendum. Liberal Democrat leader Ed Davey has boldly used his first speech of 2025 to advocate for the UK to rejoin the customs union, a clear signal that many are willing to challenge the status quo. Meanwhile, Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch has shamefully admitted that her party left the union without a coherent plan for the future. This kind of reckless governance is precisely what has led us to this point of uncertainty. Labour has been conspicuously silent on Brexit in the lead-up to the election and after gaining power. Prime Minister Keir Starmer's initial months in office have been marked by an attempt to reset relations with the European Union, yet he seems to be tiptoeing around the issue, avoiding a full-throated discussion about the ramifications of Brexit. Last year, Starmer suggested that while improving relations with Europe is essential, it does not equate to reversing Brexit or re-entering the single market or customs union. This hedging is not only frustrating but also disingenuous. The public deserves clarity and a firm stance on what the future holds, rather than vague platitudes about closer relationships without substantive commitments. The slashing of odds for a second referendum coincides with a period of political turmoil within the EU, where major countries are facing their own crises. In Germany, Chancellor Olaf Scholz's coalition government has collapsed, and an election is looming in which he is expected to lose. This is not just a German issue, it reverberates across the continent, as instability in one country often leads to ripple effects in others. In France, President Emmanuel Macron has cycled through 4 prime ministers in a single year, as right-wing populism gains traction under Marine Le Pen's National Rally. These developments raise questions about the EU's ability to maintain cohesion, let alone to influence the UK's decision-making on Brexit. Moreover, the political landscape in the US adds another layer of complexity. With Donald Trump set to be inaugurated as president once again, the prospect of any kind of Brexit reversal becomes even more remote. Trump has made his disdain for the EU abundantly clear, threatening tariffs unless the bloc significantly increases its purchase of US oil and gas. His hardline approach is indicative of a broader trend that could further alienate the UK from Europe. In a post on Truth Social, he stated, "I told the European Union that they must make up their tremendous deficit with the United States by the large-scale purchase of our oil and gas. Otherwise, it is tariffs all the way." This kind of rhetoric does not bode well for the UK's future relationship with both the US and the EU. Interestingly, the odds of a second referendum occurring in the 2030s are even shorter, now standing at 2-9 for a vote in 2035 or beyond. This suggests that the political winds may be shifting, and the public's appetite for revisiting Brexit is growing. It is a clear indication that the public is becoming increasingly disillusioned with the consequences of the first referendum and is eager for a chance to reassess their decision. The Labour Party must recognise this sentiment and stop dodging the issue. If they fail to address Brexit head-on, they risk being seen as out of touch with the very electorate they aim to serve. The stakes are incredibly high. The longer the Labour leadership continues to sidestep this critical issue, the more they will alienate voters who feel that their voices haven't been heard. The rising odds for a second referendum are not just numbers, they reflect a groundswell of frustration and a desire for genuine change. If Labour wishes to retain its credibility and appeal to disenchanted voters, it must take a definitive stance on Brexit and engage in a meaningful dialogue about what the future should look like. The time for half measures and vague statements is over. The public is clamoring for a clear vision, and leaders like Starmer must step up to provide one. A robust and honest assessment of Brexit's repercussions is needed, along with a willingness to entertain the possibility of a second referendum if the public demands it. The stakes are too high for politicians to continue playing political games while ignoring the realities on the ground. The UK deserves better than a leadership that is hesitant to confront the consequences of its decisions. As the political atmosphere continues to shift, it is essential for the Labour Party to engage actively with the electorate and address the pressing concerns surrounding Brexit. The odds may be shifting, and the landscape may be changing, but one thing remains clear. The people want their voices heard, and they deserve a government that is willing to listen and act decisively. The time for action is now.